this is Make4Life. In today's P4L review, we'll be taking a look at MakeToys' newest MTRM-11 Meteor, or I guess formerly Howling Meteor. I'm not really sure if they changed the name or not, but it just says Meteor here now. And this is their version of their own masterpiece scaled Starscream. So, this was actually not fully released yet, but they did have some of these at TFcon DC, which is in my neck of the woods, and I was lucky enough to get my hands on one. So let's go ahead and start off with packaging review. As you can see, a really nice box. They always do a really good job with the packaging. Really nice photos, really dynamic posing of both the robot mode for Meteor and his alt mode. And this guy's supposed to be more of a cartoon accurate or cartoon styled Starscream. So keep that in mind as we go through the review. Right here on the top we have some more photos. I think it's the same. Oh no, it's a slightly different photo on the top. For some reason they thought, and it's going to be hard to see, that a big photo of his leg is what one side should have, and the other side has his bust and so forth. On the bottom it shows what comes in the packaging. In and of itself is Starscream or Meteor, a couple of faces, a head accessory which goes with Despertron, and a couple of missile tips that replace the tip for the null rays. On the back is where we get kind of the masterpiece style photos. We get, again, the accessories here, again a closer look at Despertron strangling Meteor, not Starscream, and some other action poses here and there. And you can see the back that cleans up really well. But by and large, that's it for the packaging. On the exterior, we do get a nice climb shell, which again is masterpiece styled, very sturdy with those kind of like buttons that that snap into place. We do get instructions. It's the fold out type. I really don't like this like map style fold out type, just because it's kind of unwieldy to use. I definitely prefer the booklets. But they actually missed some key steps in the transformation instructions, so it's a good thing that I'm going to walk you through that, as I always do. So this is what we get with Meteor once we get him out of the packaging. Let's go through his accessories very quickly before we go into robot mode review. Let's scooch in a bit. And you can see this is the funny accessory I was talking about. It's kind of a strangled hold hand for Despertron. So you kind of slide this on the, I guess a mushroom peg on Despertron's hand. I really would have liked it if they gave you a second one for official masterpiece, and I don't even know if that would work. I don't remember how his hand is connected, but it would have been very cool to have that. But this is kind of an incentive or bonus for you guys that supported the Despertron release. All right. Continuing on with the different heads, or I guess face sculpts, you can see kind of a yelling or screaming, or I guess howling face for Meteor, and then we have the required smirking face. Oh, sorry about that. Smiling or smirking face. The default face itself is kind of a smiling face. Let's take a really quick look at that before we get too far along. Sorry about the lighting. It's very hard to show this dark. It's kind of a smiling face, a very small smile. Let's see the weapons. So he does have the null ray right here, and it connects with this double hinge system and a peg. And as I was saying before, what you can do is take this null ray tip off. Let's try this one. There we go. And you plug this in to have more of a traditional missile look for his alt mode. But for now, let's plug this one in. And as you would expect, you're going to plug these into the bicep peg holes right there and right here. As far as the face replacement goes, pretty simple. The instructions aren't very clear, but the head's on the ball joint, so you just pop off the head And you might not even need to do that depending on what kind of tool you have. And you just pull off the face, and it's just a tab face. We'll go ahead and put the smirking one on just because that's the one I like best. And you just plug that right straight on. And you tab this back in. There we go. And that's it. So let's do a quick 360 of this guy. And he looks very much like Starscream, as you would expect. On first blush, you might think that he just looks like MP11 Starscream, but he's very different. So the back here is where a lot of people have their gripes. A lot of weird hollowness here in the wings. I don't know why they would find the need to do that. The official MP doesn't have any kind of hollowness here. Maybe it's to reduce plastic or maybe for specific molding, but I don't really mind it all that much since it is the back and underside of the wing once you get it transformed into alt mode. The other thing is a butt flap, which is becoming kind of a thing within Masterpiece figures. I mean, Ultra Magnus had one for the official, and some other figures have some kind of small butt flap. It covers up a little bit of his rear. It would have been a little bit nice to have this fold up or something like that, but it's not so terrible, and you can barely see it from the front. The legs, they say that this is how you're supposed to transform it. You can do a kind of a mistransformation and lift up this leg panel, move this down, and get it in like this if you want something cleaner, but then you're not actually tabbing the leg fully closed, so I wouldn't recommend doing that unless you really care about what your calves look like on the back. But otherwise, he looks really, really nice. Oops, sorry, his ab crunch kind of split back there. Just to show off, before we even get started, what he looks like with the official MP11. This is the Takara release. And you can see they look fairly similar as far as proportions go. There are some things that one does that the other doesn't do. This is taking, again, a more of a clean, plain look without the surface details, more in line with the MP scheme that we've seen as of late with, you know, Ironhide and Inferno and so forth. You're either going to like that or you don't. I do like the surface details. I think it makes it look a little bit more realistic, and I think it's a good blend. And these aren't so heinous that it makes it kind of ugly. But again, if you like that look, that cleaner look, you may like this. Taking a look at the side, you can see they both have a bit of a backpack, just depending on how you want to deal with it. The big change here is that the vertical stabilizers on MP11 are still just kind of sticking out there. There is a heel spur for the official, while this one kind of uses some turning mechanism on the thrusters to make that the heel itself. So kind of clever. And the one thing I would have liked that they could have, I think, easily done was with this mold, they allowed you to kind of bring this forward to give you more of a quote-unquote accurate look. I would have loved to see that, but it's, again, a small difference. Nothing so big that I think it's going to make or break your decision on whether you want this figure or not. So let's go into articulation very quickly. Like I said, his head is on a ball joint, but it is limited in the upward movement, and that's because of the way this connector in the back is. His helmet sculpt is just straight on the back. I would hope that in the future release, which is supposed to be in a couple weeks, but it's probably too late at this point, they could have made just a notch here that give you some upward movement. Like right now, he has absolutely none. Straight is all you get with this guy. But again, a small thing. I don't know how often you're going to need him to look up that much. Otherwise, let's go to his wings first. His wings actually hinge backwards and can hinge upwards. A great deal. That looks kind of ridiculous, but you can have it hinge pretty far back. Is that it? I thought it could hinge a little bit further than that, but maybe not. In any case, it does go back very far and gives you more dynamic posing with the wings. I do like that very much. His arms are kind of weird. They're kind of ratcheted, but only at the 90 degrees. So like 0 degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees. But it's friction in between. But it's very nice. You can go out as far as that. He has a bicep swivel. double jointed elbows. He does have a wrist swivel and MP10 style hands. So these 3 fingers all molded together, and then a pointer finger with a couple extra joints. No thumb articulation, which isn't that big of a deal to me. Again, looking at his null ray, you have this pegged in. You can get it out and around in various ways if you want. You don't have to remove it for transformation, but it is kind of unnecessary to have it pegged in because this part of the arm is actually going to make part of the fuselage and not peg into the wing, so you're going to want to remove that later. He does have a full waist swivel, and again, it's kind of odd. He has it at like, I don't know, 45 degrees, and then not even 45, it's like 60 degrees, and then, yeah, it's kind of odd that he can do it that way. So I guess it was 60 degrees, that's 60, 120, yeah, 180. But he does have friction in between, so it's very easy to pose him like that. He does have a double jointed ab crunch, which is weird. So it's for transformation, but you can make use of this in various ways, and I very much like it. It does take some getting used to get to pose it, just because it's not a standard kind of joint, but it's very nice. He does have double jointed hip skirts that can float and move around to get out of the way. So let's just lift these up. Hip skirt up front, and then you can see his ratcheted hips. I think they're ratcheted, or they have some kind of friction going on there, and then friction going out. He does have a thigh swivel, which can go about 90 degrees outwards, not that much inwards before it runs into some issues. He has double jointed knees, so this is the lower joint, and the upper joint is actually frictioned. Be careful. The first time I went through trying to articulate the ratchet joints up at the top, I actually thought I was going to break it. But once you actually kind of quote unquote break it in, just with one time, it actually works really quite well. Let's see, what else do I have going on here? He also has the feet. So the feet are where it gets kind of interesting. Aside from these flaps here, and again, if you want to bring out his flaps for your preference to get them out showing like the MP11, you can do that, but they're supposed to be folded in like so. But as I was saying, the foot is where it is very different than the MP11. The heel, again, doesn't articulate aside from like rotating around into jet mode position and foot mode position. However, the toe here is on double ratchets. So when you do this for posing for robot mode, just standing straight, you want to get this kind of flat, or, like 180 degrees just straight with the foot. But you can move this in various different ways. So that's the one ratchet, and then the toe is also on another ratchet. So you can get a lot of mobility on this thing. The whole foot itself doesn't move forward and back. It's just this thing here. So again, make this flat, and then you can angle the toe to be in line with the heel as you need. And it also has an ankle pivot that is actually the whole foot. So it's not just this panel. So don't just pull on this, you're going to damage your figure. But it's actually the entire foot, which gives you a small amount, but I don't think it goes much more than this. But this should be more than enough. And it doesn't go really outward. So I think that's it for articulation. I think I got most of it covered. If I missed it, hopefully the rest of the review will show other articulation points. So let's get into transformation. This guy does borrow a lot from other figures like MP11 and Combiner Wars, but it does a really interesting transformation. One bit of warning is that this nose cone piece is connected on a C-clip behind the neck, and that thing comes off like crazy. It's not a very good connection. I'm hoping they can improve that, but there's a number of reasons why it doesn't connect well. There's like not enough clearance in some of these pieces. In any case, I'm warning you ahead of time, that's probably going to come off. So the first thing we're going to do, and I stress this because it's easy to forget, is that the abdomens, the obliques, actually tab into the fuselage with these tabs. You can actually move it if you put enough force, and you're going to stress these tabs. I already did that once in my second transformation, so remember to do this first. It's just way easier to remember to do that first. Second, we're going to bring up the nose cone here. Actually, let's lift this up a bit. I'm gonna lift up this nose cone here, just kind of get everything out of the way. And then we're gonna push open the canopy, and it's on a double hinge. And we're gonna kind of just push through here. And this is probably where the nose cone is already gonna come off. You kind of would just wanna pull this all forward, and you can see it's on a set of like 3 different hinges. Like this. I'm surprised it didn't fall off actually. So from here, let's go ahead and take this one at a time. Rotate at this pivot point 180 degrees. Lift this, oh yeah, there you go. So see, it's just a C-clip here and this point here. There we go. But bring this out and rotate this 180 degrees as well. And this is where it does something cool. So here, you're gonna push down on this canopy, the front part of this canopy, and bring this canopy out that was hiding behind the neck. And when you close this up, this will actually cover that piece. And I think that's really cool. So I thought it was like a faux canopy, but it's really only just this one piece. And I think it's a really clever way. You do lose some stuff by the way it transforms, in the sense that you can't open the full canopy. But then again, I think you're only supposed to open this part anyway in an actual mode. These tab in here. This will double hinge down like this and tab in there. You're going to straighten this all the way out like that. And then we're going to go ahead and close this up. And it tabs in over here. Come on. Come on. I don't know what's going on. It should just tab in just fine. There we go. I don't know what's getting caught up there. But that's it. That's the full front of the canopy. You can go ahead and close this up now. Oh, sorry. I didn't... I mistransformed it here. You have to bring out this rear part of the canopy as well. On that double, triple, quadruple, however many hinges it is. Sorry about that. Alright, from here, let's go ahead and deal with the wings, just because we're already kind of up here. The wing is going to rotate at this piece. And then flip down at the C-clip down, like this. Same thing on the other side. And if you actually wanted to... Oops, sorry about that. Came off the C-clip. If you actually wanted to keep this down to give more of that kind of MP11 silhouette, you could do that in robot mode as well. I meant to mention that. This piece is going to untab and fold down for now. So it kind of uses that similar styling here, but I don't really know if there was any other practical way to do it. But it tabs in much more securely with these tabs than the MP11 MP3 mold, which was notorious for flipping down. And the double joints here have pins, which I think they incorporated or maybe got rid of. I forget. Maybe they had it in MP11 3 and they got rid of it in MP11. In any case, they had that and they look like they're going to be pretty sturdy. So let's come back to the front. Let's go ahead and deal with the... Let's deal with the arms first. So let's go ahead and take these off. Again, you could transform with these on, but you're going to need to move them to the wings anyway. So let's go ahead and do this. You're going to rotate the fist just ever so slightly so that the thumb can clear. And you're going to close it up kind of like the MP11 MP3 mold. And you're going to go ahead and collapse both the bicep and the forearm kind of pieces. There's 2 sections that collapse in, like so. We're going to untab the intakes, and this is where another difference is. A lot of people were complaining that there's no intake fans here, but again, they're trying to go for a simpler look. Let's just lift this up. And right now, I actually like to take this and expand it on the double hinge, just so you can kind of see what's going on. So from here, you're going to lift this all the way up. This is going to come down like this. Oh, sorry, like this. Alright, so you're going to bend it around on itself 180 degrees. So it was all the way up. Now it's all the way down like this. And what this is going to do is fold in up here like so. Then these side skirts will fold in on themselves like so. being nice and compact. You saw this arm is on a sliding joint or pin. It's going to come down. And these are going to fold in like this. So kind of like the MP11, MP3 mold, but slightly different. At this point, you can close this up, and these tabs actually align with the tabs that were used before, or tab holes, which is nice. That's one of the things I realized that this engineering is really clever. It reuses a lot of the same pegs and peg holes, so that you don't have a lot of them going on. They're just a lot of doubling up in the various modes. So I think that's pretty cool. Alright, from here, you're going to kind of close up the double hinged waist again. And this is where it's kind of cool. This waist, the hip piece, is on a sliding joint that comes up. And you're going to tab those into the forearms here with these tabs. Oops, sorry. Remember to keep these collapsed. The one, I guess, quote-unquote difficulty with this mold is figuring out how these double hinges should be positioned, because this is not really in a logical position where I can say, oh, 90 degrees or anything like that. It kind of looks like it's 90 degrees, so that might be your best bet. Alright, coming down to the leg. So we had these like this. Let's deal with the foot first. So the one thing about these rotating thrusters is that they can't really rotate out of the way until you get some stuff out of the way. You can open up the leg, they're tabbed in here and here, rotate this down, and see how it doesn't clear this way or this way. You want to use ankle articulation to bend it in, and that'll give you the clearance to close this up, and then you can straighten it out. There we go. Again, untabbing it both legs, folding this piece down. Get out the vertical stabilizers. And this is where it kind of goes into Combiner Wars style mode. Let's go ahead and deal with the toes first. So just rotate the first ratchet all the way up, and then fold the toe flat, like so. So the leg does kind of a Combiner Wars thing. You're going to go ahead and untab the front. This gray piece untabs. And it's going to come down, and it's going to tab into these thighs. And again, using that same tabbing system, just using a different slot. Again, the engineering is pretty clever on this. And it's going to be hard to show you, but go ahead and just collapse it all the way in. And you can hear it definitively click. And then you're going to rotate this piece up instead of where it was down. And you're going to reuse this tab here for down there. That should be all the way in. Same thing on the other side. Ow. Oh, I failed to mention, I think there's some pieces that are die-cast are the thighs. I think that might be the only major die-cast piece as far as I can tell. Oh, and maybe these pieces. Yeah, these are die-cast, the landing gear. But we'll get to that in a bit. Go ahead and tab the legs together. And if you have everything kind of straightened out, this butt flap will tab in here. There we go. And then these wings will tab into various places. So there's a tab here, a tab here, and then a tab here, I believe, which will go into here. If you want, you can go ahead and flip these flaps up here now or later. Let's just get it out of the way. So this is kind of weird because you have like tab direction going this way, but then you have tabs that have to go in this way. So I think it's easier to go ahead and tab into the arms first. Come on. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm stupid. The one thing I forgot to tell you guys is there's a sliding joint here. That's why. On the pin of the wings. that go up like that, and that makes everything kind of line up correctly. And then just like with MP11, these things slide down. So that's why the gap looked like it was right, but then I forgot to slide these pieces down. There you go. Close this up. Tab this into the side up here. Come on. There we go. And then tab this up here. If you got that all right, it should tab in very securely everywhere. There we go. So again, tabbing systems are 1, 2, 3, and I think that's it. Oh, and 4, this one here. Okay. I think we have everything done, finally. Just get these horizontal and vertical stabilizers done, and this should be the correct transformation. And again, landing gear in the front. And on the knees. Unfortunately, these are just molded die cast, it seems like, or maybe just molded plastic. Yeah, maybe it is just plastic. I thought it was die cast. In any case, they don't have actual rolling wheels. They're just molded in place. In any case, these are your null rays, and you're going to just go ahead and replace them with the missile tips. Actually, I'll just do 1 and 1, just so you can see. Just peg that in under the wings. So if you want null rays, you can do that. And if I can actually get this one out, I'll show you the missile tip. There we go. Like so. These will plug in like that. And again, if you want to articulate these somehow, you can do that. I don't really find it all that useful. But there we go. Here we have Meteor in his alt mode. So it was a bit of a complex transformation. There are a couple things to keep in mind, but I think it holds together really well. And the one thing I will say is the quality of this plastic is really quite nice. It's thin in some places, like not thin, but not that thick, but it feels really sturdy. And one thing that you usually see with gray plastic, light or dark, is you usually see some kind of swirls, and there's none of that. This red is really nice and glossy. This silver, I think underneath translucent, or maybe it's just, yeah, it's translucent. Looks really quite nice. The overall quality and heft of this guy is pretty impressive. Oh, these are also die cast. These chest pieces, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. But he has a lot more heft. I thought he looked kind of flimsy at first, but I was completely wrong and blown away once I actually held him in hand. In terms of overall quality, I would say this guy is probably one of the best build quality and, like, I guess QC that I've seen in a third party in a really long time. It feels like a first party figure from like Bandai or something like that. You know, better than even Takara's finish, I would say, in a lot of cases. Mimics very much like the new Ironhide and Inferno kind of finishes, if that gives you an idea. Quick 360. Again, one with the null ray, one with the missile tip. You can see the deco is supposed to be more in line with the cartoon. Even has these gray pieces which kind of stick out, but I was like, what's going on here? And I looked it up, and that's actually cartoon accurate, and you'll see that in some of the overlay I have here of the cartoon mode. But yeah, overall I'm very impressed. Alright, we're back just to do a quick comparison of the Meteor and MP11. You can see that they're both quite large. They're about the same length, almost exactly the same length. I think MP11 is just a smidge taller by maybe a couple millimeters. In terms of width, they're pretty much the same. I think they basically took this, this figure and maybe just modified it slightly. But by and large, it looks the same. It has the same kind of gray pieces here. Yeah, I think this entire section here is also die cast now that I'm looking at it. Yeah, it feels like that too. It does. The alt mode doesn't have any gimmicks like, you know, this nose cone radar thing that the official one has. All it really has is landing gear. It doesn't have the ability to, again, transform and rearrange these the way that the official did, which were kind of cool things. But as you can see, as I said, even though this is light plastic, it doesn't have any of the swirls that is prevalent on the official. In all versions, I think, of the gray at least. Here it is here. Again, I think it's a little bit more aerodynamic. But again, the bottom side, I don't know that anyone's really going to care on any of this. You can't open the cockpit on both, but unlike the official, you don't have the seat or anybody to go inside of it. But again, minor things for me. I think if you're going to get this, you're really getting this just for the overall look and not for the gimmicks. All right. But I think that's it for this mode. Let's go ahead and get a quick transformation back just because it is a little complicated again. And let's try to end this on a not ridiculously long timeline. So let's go ahead and start with, I like to start with the wings, obviously, just because those are the things that kind of get in the way and you need to get those out of the way for a lot of other things. So let's go ahead and untab this, tab it here, untab it back here. Just be careful here. I mean, I don't think, like I said, the quality of the plastic is really nice, but there are some places where, see, you have to like pull this out, and that could stress this small piece here, which also might be die cast. I think that might be die cast. So maybe that's why they made that die cast. I kind of have a feeling that's die cast. Maybe not, because it has a seam too. In any case, it seems very sturdy, but just be careful as with all your figures. And before I forget, let's go ahead and slide that down. Tap that in there. Flip this around and up. I should flip these flaps down first. So, get that around like that. And let's repeat on the other side, remembering to slide up on that piece up here. Tap that in. Get these flaps down. Rotate this around. Like so. Alright, so the wings are done. Let's get this butt flap open, and we'll go with the lower body. Let's extend. Let's untab this and extend the lower body as well, just to get it a little bit easier to handle. I like to split the legs first, and then do the transformation. Let's go ahead and open these up. They untab here. Flip these up because they're going to be tabs. Tabs that these fit into. Let's go ahead and extend the foot. You can't really use ankle articulation much without extending the foot out, the toe out. So let's do that since we do need to get a little bit of clearance to flip these pieces out. Again, making use of the ankle tilt to get just the clearance needed to rotate these. The place that it doesn't talk about in the instructions is actual collapsing and extending of these legs. So I showed you how it does kind of a combine and worst thing. It totally skips that step. But once you do that, you'll see this gray piece clips on to the tabs that were plugged into the thighs. Go ahead and slide this up, fold this down like this, fold that in, bring that down so you can tab in both the top piece here and the bottom piece down here. Alright, same thing on the other side. Pulling down, tabbing in up at the top, tabbing in there, tabbing in here. Oh, nope, sorry. Sorry. Slide this up and flip this in first. Then we can tab these pieces in. Fold these around. And again, I showed you before, if you wanted to hide those in there, you could, but I'm not going to do that. Slide the crotch down. Now we're going to get to the upper body. I'm going to untab this first. rotate these out. Let's go ahead and just finish the transformation. Extend the forearms and the bicep. Open up the hands. Get them rotated forward. These are going to go up on sliding joints up there. These probably will slide down, so let's not worry about them too much. Get the sides hip skirts out and down. And then that will give you enough room for these to open up to the side. Again, make sure those are open. Get the obliques just kind of ready like that, because they're going to tab in at the end. Okay. You can close these back up. I think, can you close this up already? Yeah, you should be able to close these up now. Like so. Now we're going to deal with the troublesome fuselage nose cone. The first thing we'll do is go ahead and open this up. This will tuck in like that. This will open up. This is kind of irritating because you have to kind of open both sides while you're pulling up. Just loosen one tab on one side and loosen the other and pull that up. And this is going to go in and collapse on itself like that. Okay. Open this panel up and this panel up. And we're going to go ahead. Oh, sorry. And untab this. And we're going to straighten this out just so we can get the clearance to rotate around 180 degrees. Oops, that C-clip came out again. As expected, get that back on. And then again, you're going to do the same thing here. You're going to rotate 180 degrees. Alright. So we're going to get this down. And what you've got to do is move this part. Let me see if I'm getting this right. Yeah. Yep. So get this rotated back. Is this right? Let's get the C-clip back on. Again, this thing is super frustrating. Do I even have it the right way now? It should be this way. Okay. I gotta remember. Oh, so this white piece comes down and this gray piece comes up. We're gonna push that in. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna sandwich this in between the chest pieces. Pull out that little neck piece. And then this is gonna collapse in like that. There we go. And this back piece will just come down and fold up like that. Go ahead and collapse the upper and lower body. Like so. And then we can go ahead and tab in the sides. There we go. There we go. That piece on the back. That's the single most annoying thing on this. And it's not a bad thing. It's not like it's breaking, but it's just so frustrating. See, this is what I'm saying. So there's this clearance here that is causing a problem because it likes to get snagged, and you only need a little bit of pressure to pull this C-clip off. So the fact that there's just not enough clearance here, or there is, but you have to, it gets caught a little bit. It's not a big deal, but it is kind of annoying. I wish they would change that to like a pin or something like that. But I doubt that will happen. And again, for the toes, remember to get this gray piece flat, and then you can line up the heel, the toe with the heel. There we go. I don't think I forgot anything, thankfully. Position the wings as you would like, and go ahead and get the null race back on. Let's take this one off. And there we go. And that's it for the transformation of Meteor or Howling Meteor back into robot mode. So, final thoughts. I'm really quite happy with this figure. I was not expecting to like it or even planning on getting it, but Toy Dojo actually got one for me, and obviously very appreciated. But it was a surprise upon the instant that I actually held it, just how hefty this guy is. and how it doesn't like flop around. There's everything's tight. You know, if I held the official like this, the sliding mechanism would come down because of the notorious waist joint that doesn't tab in correctly or at least securely. The legs are kind of loose and floppy because of the joints here, the tolerances, all sorts of stuff. The wings would flop around. This guy, he's super solid. He feels really great. I have no concerns about, you know, things falling off. Like, you hear nothing shaking when I'm doing this. And again, the build quality is really superb. It reminds me of really nice like Bandai or other quality plastic, in that even though it's not super thick, it feels really sturdy. There's no flexing in it at all. The missiles are super robust. While there are some aesthetic things that I would have liked, again, a little bit more surface detail, this is a really great looking figure overall in terms of proportions. The only thing that I don't like about it, and the official one suffers from this as well, is the fact that he has a pinhead. Yeah. I don't like it. I know why it has to be this way, because both of them kind of fit the head into the fuselage. But I really would have preferred that. Like, this is super tiny. It's like as big as his fist. Literally, it's as big as his fist. I mean, that's kind of small. But everything else looks fantastic. I'm really glad that I have this figure. I think most people will like it. I think the transformation is really unique in a lot of places, that take the things that worked previously from different figures and the MP11 mold and build upon that and fix all the kind of the glaring issues, even if it's not always unique. And for $120, I think that's what it's coming out as. It's definitely a well-priced figure. Lack of accessories doesn't really bother me as long as the main figure is good. And the only figure accessory I would have liked is one that had the head like this with the official MP36 replacement hand. But I think that's all for today, everyone. If you have any questions or comments, let me know in the comment section below. As always, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, share, and subscribe. If you want to pick this guy up for your collection, you're going to have to wait a couple weeks, but Toy Dojo will have it, so I'll put that link in the description below. And with that, I think that's it. I have a lot more figures to review, and I'm sorry I didn't get to do any of the exclusives during the con like I usually do, but I was super busy. So I'm going to get to those, as well as a few new samples that I have as well. Alright, so expect a lot this week. Thanks a lot, everyone. Hope you have a good one.